Hello, people of the internet. So, I was, I remembered that one of my more viewed videos on this channel was, um, my review of Batman, and I figured, hey, I kind of forgot that existed, and it also got me a lot of views, so why don't I finish that series? Well, I'll make a part 3, a 2? I don't know, because it was part 0, part 1. Is it 2 or part 3? I don't know. It's the third part, but it's part 2. Whatever. So yeah, keep in mind that I could get information wrong in this video. I mean, I could before, but I'm more likely to now because I did watch the movies in preparation for the first 2 parts, but I didn't do that for this because I just want to get it over with because I don't really feel like this is going to be something I want to do on my channel more often, where I review movies that are like older. I think if I review movies, it's going to be newer stuff. And they might be stuff about theology as well, since I do want to make videos about theology, as you guys already know, or should already know, since I said I wanted to make a video about the Book of Mormon and the Quran. And just so you guys know about the progress of that video, I just finished, and by just finished, I mean yesterday I finished the Book of Mosiah, and now I'm beginning the Book of Alma. Alma the older, of course. There's no Book of Alma the younger. Or wait, no, other way around. Alma the younger is who... Yeah, no. Alma the younger, because there is no Book of Alma the elder. I don't know why, though. Yeah. I'm gonna... One thing I want to... Well, no. I'll leave that till the end because I want this video to be focused. And I'm, like, you know, autism kind of keeps that from being an easy thing for me to do. But yeah, I want this to be focused on specifically what this video is trying to talk about. So I'll leave that till the end. I'll go into more detail in the end about my plans. So yeah, to continue my review of Batman, so I covered the Joel Schumacher films and the Tim Burton ones. So now we're going to cover, we are going to cover it. You guys are also going to join in, apparently. No, I'm going to cover, I mean, if you guys want to comment something, that'd be cool, but I'm going to cover the Dark Knight trilogy. So we'll start with, you know, the start, Batman Begins. My opinion on Batman Begins is pretty positive. I liked Batman's voice in that one a lot better. I feel like going for less of a growl is better because the growl just makes it sound silly when it's exaggerated like it is in the later films. Yeah. So Scarecrow, I felt like the fear toxin effect was a bit lame. Like, I think they could have done a bit more with that, but it was made in the 2000s, so I'm not going to say that, like, oh, they totally had the ability to just make this weird, big, complex thing, because it's possible they did, but I don't want to assume. And that's one thing, too, is it's, like, older, like, technology does take a while to start to become a thing. So, like, even if better CGI was invented by then, that doesn't mean that it was used by then, nor does it mean that it was cheap enough to be used in like most movies by then. You know, it's kind of like if I say hot chocolate was invented in like the 1400s. It's like, yeah, that's true, but it was invented by like the Incans, so pretty much no one else had it, or Mayans. I don't know which civilization did it. I know it was not the Europeans. Yeah, chocolate milk probably did exist, so a variation of hot chocolate could have existed. Yeah. But yeah, that's not my point. My point is, what was my point? It's gone now. Well, shit, no, oh yeah, was, Scarecrow, his fear toxin thing was a bit lame. I felt like he was pretty cool, though. I felt like it was interesting, his character and everything about him. And you know, so, okay, so I should, so, and Rachel, maybe I should talk about her, too. She was a pretty interesting character. She was a good love interest. I don't know how to feel about, so comparing the idea of a love interest in The Dark Knight to the idea of a love interest in the Joel Schumacher and Tim Burton films, the love interest in the first 4 is, like, kind of random. It's very weird, where it goes from, like, Like, it just goes from love interest to love interest to love interest. In the first film, it's Vicky Vale, I believe. I could be wrong. Was it Vicky? Yeah, and then in the second, it was Catwoman. No, wait, that was the third. What? I don't remember the love interest. As I said before, I rewatched the films in preparation to make the series, and then I forgot about it, and I don't want to rewatch them again to make the review, like, to continue it. So, and I don't think my memory is that bad. Of course, I'm wrong. My memory is that bad, but still. Yeah, it doesn't matter. My main point is that it swapped from love interest to love interest, while in the Dark Knight trilogy, it was a bit more consistent. I don't know how to feel about that, because it's more realistic for him to swap from love interest to love interest I think, for his character, because he's a billionaire. First of all, he probably fucks a lot, and I guarantee you, if you fuck a lot, you're not going to know everyone you fuck. And you're not going to love everyone you fuck, and that's fine. It's okay. Bang whoever you want to bang. It really could not matter any less how much you have sex or who you have sex with, as long as who you have sex with is consenting and able to consent. But yeah. Yeah. And then in the Dark Knight trilogy, it's pretty consistently Rachel, except for in the third film, which is my complaint about the third film, by the way, one of them. I have a lot more problems with the third film than I do with the first two, so this video, well, it won't mostly be the third film, but most of my criticisms will be the third film. Maybe it'll mostly be the third film, I don't really know, because maybe I'll talk about it longer than I think, but, okay, to move on, in The Dark Knight, the second film, The Dark Knight, they introduce... Oh, I should point out, they did set up the Joker in the first film, which was cool. I didn't know that they did that until I watched the films for the first time, and I was like, oh, I didn't know they set up the Joker in the first film. But it was a very light setup. They just kind of was like, here's a Joker card, and then it was just like, okay, now the next film. It wasn't like setting up, the plot of the next film in the film before. It was literally just, this is probably going to be the villain of the next film. So yeah. So in The Dark Knight, they changed Rachel's actress, which is fine. Actor changes happen all the time. Speaking of actor changes, Heath Ledger's Joker. Heath Ledger's Joker, I don't know if that was a good segue, because, his actor didn't change, but whatever. His actor died. Heath Ledger's Joker was okay. In my opinion, I think Heath Ledger is a great actor, and Heath Ledger's Joker is a great portrayal of what Christopher Nolan was trying to do with the Joker. The reason I say it like that is because I don't like Heath Ledger's Joker as the Joker. I like Heath Ledger, and I like Heath Ledger's Joker as a character, but as the Joker, no, not at all. The reason why, and I'll give an explanation about who I prefer as the Joker to kind of give you guys a bit of a better understanding of exactly what I like. So the Joker, holy crap. Ugh. Heath Ledger's Joker is very direct about his intentions. He's like, I want to take down the order of, society. I want to show that the order of society that we have is not real, that it's self-imposed, that the moment things start to fall apart, everyone will kill each other. And I think it's fine for a villain to just say their motivation. But the issue is, the Joker doesn't have one, or shouldn't have one. He's the Joker. He's so insane, he doesn't give a shit about anything. Rules or laws or whatever. An example of the type of Joker I like is Jack Nicholson's Joker. He's very just excited and energetic, but also very crazy, and a serial killer who was able to take over, immediately. Almost in the same way, actually, now that I think about it. Not exactly the same way, of course. The only similarity is the word gang and the word kill, but I guess it's not that. Okay, never mind. They are kind of similar, I guess. But yeah, my main point is, I like Jack Nicholson's motivationless, I just do what I want Joker because I have fun type of thing. I like that Joker. The idea that he just doesn't give a shit about anything. I think it's far more interesting. Because that means that he doesn't have a specific plan in mind. He just wants to do things. It doesn't matter what. So he's entirely unpredictable. With Heath Ledger's Joker, you can just say, well, he wants to take down the natural order. He's going to do things that do that. A good example being blowing up those boats was to show that prisoners and non-prisoners will just kill each other if they're given the opportunity. Prisoners because they're prisoners, they have no morals, and non-prisoners because the people they're killing are prisoners, so what? But that was untrue for both of them. Neither of them did it. And yeah. Of course, I don't think the events would have realistically gone that way, but I don't know if it's just that I don't have... Oh, shit, my camera's not been facing my face. Sorry about that. Not that it matters, but, Oh, yeah. Whereas, I don't think realistically they would have been, that would have ended well, but that's not my point. My point is that it did end well in the film, and it's not unrealistic that it did. So, it's just, I don't think it would have been that way, It's kind of like if you ran that event like 1,000 times, I think there'd be like 2 times when it would have happened the way that it did in the film. But that doesn't mean that it, couldn't have happened that way, and that doesn't mean that it's so unrealistic that I, lost all immersion. Yeah. So, The Dark Knight Rises, I almost said The Dark Knight Returns, which is the comic it's based off of, I don't know why they changed Returns to Rises, has a lot more problems. The first problem being, and this isn't really a problem with the film itself, this is more just, or this beginning part, this will sound like I'm talking about a different film, but I'm not. Rachel's death. Now, what I mean by that being a problem is that meant that Batman didn't have a love interest. Now, you may think, oh, that just means he's not going to have one in the next film. No. Instead, they introduce a new love interest, Catwoman. Why? I don't know. Because we don't have enough time to give a shit about her. Now, you may say, oh, well, with enough character development, you can make anyone like anyone in one film. Qui-Gon Jinn, General Grievous, and Darth Maul would be good examples of characters who appeared once, but are still loved. And of course, if you say Darth Maul appeared in Solo, I want you to tell me where you got that information from, because I don't know what movie you're talking about. Solo does not exist. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. Basically, so you can get people to be attached to a character that appears once, even if the series has characters that appear more than once. Now you may be like, well, okay, well, did they do that with Catwoman? No, they did not. They did the opposite, weirdly enough. They gave you every reason to hate the character, and I don't know why. They had her be, not just a robber, but also, one that is, it's not like the comic book Catwoman where she steals from, people who have the ability to replace what was stolen, either literally or just money-wise. They still have the money to, essentially, they're not losing much. So, she's stealing from, museums and stuff, and banks. So, things that can replace the money that's stolen. But in the film, she steals from this random dude, and then the dude confronts her, and then she, being the weak, scrawny-looking woman, and I'm not saying women are weak, I'm saying she is weak-looking, somehow manages to overpower the very clearly stronger man. And I do admit, cis women can be stronger than cis men. Which is why I am okay with trans people being in sports, because I don't think the difference is that big of a thing. But that doesn't mean that I don't acknowledge how strong someone is if that strength correlates with the idea that cis women are weaker. She is clearly not strong enough to take him down, but she manages to pin him against the wall somehow. Um, and yeah. So she stole a wallet, and you might be like, well, okay, well, that's not that big of a deal. Like, yeah, she stole from someone who may not be able to replace the money, but so what? So then then the next thing is she then there's this other thing where she's like in a room and then people attack her and then she pretends like she's entirely innocent and starts crying, which is kind of like, okay, you're just kind of portraying her as manipulative. You also have in the beginning of the film, when she steals the necklace from Bruce, it's just kind of like, and that's kind of the closest she gets to actually being comic accurate, is stealing from someone who can replace what was stolen. The difference being, of course, the replaceableness comes entirely monetarily. Like, for Bruce, it's irreplaceable because it's his mother's necklace. But for Catwoman, it's replaceable because it's just a fucking necklace. So she doesn't realize the emotional value of that necklace because she doesn't own it. Which is one of the things about thieves, is that even if you go out of your way to only steal from people who can replace what's stolen, that doesn't mean that you will that doesn't mean that replacing what's stolen is as easy as you think. That doesn't mean every replaceable thing that was stolen will be replaced, or can be, like, is replaceable in the sense that you think it is. Like, just because you think it's replaceable in the sense of the word doesn't mean that it is to the person that you're stealing from. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. Yeah, so they basically portray her as a horrible person with no redeemable qualities. So then they get together at the end and have him like sit at a table, at like a dinner table with Catwoman, and like eat or something. And it's like, what? Like, so basically what they did was they killed Rachel off in the second film just to introduce an asshole to then say, look, this asshole will replace Rachel now. It's like, what? No, I'm sorry. That's not how that works. You can't just introduce a new love interest and then just say they're the new love interest. If I had a nickel for every trilogy in the 2000s that had a new love interest introduced in the third film, I'd have two nickels. Basically what I'm saying is Gwen Stacy in Spider-Man 3 and Catwoman in Dark Knight Rises. In case you don't know what I'm talking about with that little joke there. I don't know, joke, because it's not funny at all. Because if I say something, it just loses its comedic value. But still, of course, there is a difference. Gwen Stacy isn't portrayed as a disgusting person. She's portrayed as a normal person. She's portrayed as just as valid of a love interest for Peter as Mary. The only difference being that Peter is already with Mary. And just remember that scene where it's like, I'm going to play this song for you. And then he proceeds to kiss some other woman. It's like, what a weird thing to do. I dedicate this song to you. And then they just start having sex in front of her, just like, look, I'm cheating to show that this is what I want to do to you. It's like, yeah. So to get back to Batman, hey, that kind of almost barely rhymes. To get back to Batman, they basically introduce her and give her no likable qualities whatsoever, and then they just expect us to like her. So to move on to different characters, so I can actually talk about the film instead of just saying Catwoman sucks for, I don't know, like 5 minutes. Bane. Now, Bane in that film is great. As a villain, he's awesome. I love him as a villain. But one of my complaints about something small real quick to point out is, like, it is weird that they try to pass off that kid in the beginning as Bane, and then they reveal it's Talia. It's kind of like, it's pretty obvious that that person's a girl. You can tell that they did go out of their way to remove or biological sex identifying features, I should say, by making it a young enough child where there's no tits, and also removing, not like getting rid of the hair, making it short. You know? But yeah, my main point is, that's a small thing, and that's kind of, it's kind of weird. But to bring up better points, so with Bane, his goal is essentially the Joker, but again, He wants to get rid of, like, the natural order of things. But the thing is it's also slightly different. It's not exactly the same. He wants to show that the natural order of things can be taken down, but then he also wants to destroy the city after that. So it's not just like doing what the Joker did of like, look, people actually are pretty easily turned insane. No, it's that, and they're all dead now. I don't know why no one in the town, or oh yeah, actually I don't think anyone knew about it. Never mind. I was gonna say I don't know why anyone in the town didn't try to defuse the bomb, and then I realized, oh wait, I don't think anyone knew about the bomb other than Bruce. Yeah. Another issue is like them setting that part of the building on fire, and then also the plot hole about how did Bruce get back to Gotham when he left the prison? That's the big hole in the ground. So one thing is these problems, the only one that I would say really is a big enough problem to be like, that like ruins the movie for me is Catwoman. The rest of it I think is good enough. Like if Catwoman weren't in the film, I'd say the problems are minor enough where I could just be like, eh. But Catwoman just kind of ruins it the rest of the way. It's like those other problems are tiny cuts, and then like Catwoman is the shotgun to the face. You know, it's like someone cut my Achilles heel cord so I couldn't walk, and then those are the two small problems, and then someone grabbed a gun and then shot me in the face, and that's Catwoman. You know, yeah. So my main point is just the film is okay, and the films as a trilogy is okay, although I say that Dark Knight Rises is very clearly like an afterthought. It's very clearly wasn't written with the first two like building up to it. One other reason, actually, I just realized, is the Joker's never mentioned. Now, I know what you're thinking. Heath Ledger's dead, you dumbass. No, that doesn't excuse the fact that he's never mentioned. It excuses the fact that he's never present, but it doesn't excuse the fact that he's never mentioned. He could be mentioned as being executed by the state, and I think that would have been an easy explanation. Say he was executed for his terrorist attacks. Boom. No, Joker. Another thing as well was I saw this idea online, and I don't think they should have done this because they literally couldn't, but I just want to bring it up because I thought it was pretty cool. Was the idea that if Heath Ledger were still alive when Dark Knight Rises was made, like the idea is like instead of Scarecrow being the judge, it would be the Joker. Of course, I don't think that would have been a perfect idea. I think I would have probably integrated the Joker a bit differently, but I still think that's an interesting way to do it. But my main point is just that the Joker's never mentioned. They could have explained where he was, instead of just saying nothing at all, you know? And the thing is I get why he wasn't there. I just don't get why he wasn't explained as to, like, why he isn't there in universe. Yeah, so that's, yeah. So I'll probably cover, the Batman and the Joker. But I'll probably, I don't know, maybe the video will be a bit delayed, and the reason I say that is because I know there's a Joker sequel coming out, so I'm thinking of waiting until that. But I want to make sure if it's way later in the future, then I'll just make a part for after, and I'll make the next part the Joker and the Batman, and then I'll just make a part about Joker 2. But if it's near enough, I'll wait until then. So the next part will come out a bit later. Unless, of course, the release date of Joker 2 is way, way in the future, then no. It'll come out sooner. Yeah. So that's enough of this part of the review, but I'll go ahead and explain what I was talking about before that I stopped myself from talking about to make sure that I can actually, de-autism myself and actually talk about what this video is about instead of changing the subject all the time. So yeah, my video on Mormonism and Islam, comparing the two, is coming pretty well. And one thing I wanted to point out was I'm not going to read the Hadiths. And the reason why is the Hadiths are really fucking long, and the Quran was already starting to get kind of boring. You have the fact that the Quranists already exist. There are people that only believe in the Quran. And you also have the fact that it's possible that the Hadiths aren't decided by, like, this is historically accurate. It's possible that they're decided, like, this is what I want to be true, so this is what I'm going to say is true. You know? Like, they're not deciding it based off of logic, they're deciding it based off of feeling, which is, it's fine. Certain things are based off feeling, but historical facts are not based off feelings. Certain facts are, but that's not one of them. So, yeah. Not going to read the Hadiths. You also have the fact that, according to Islam, the Quran should be enough to convince me of it, and considering it's made me more confident in being a Satanist, which is essentially the opposite of Islam, I'm pretty sure that I've read enough. Yeah. Also, the Quran was starting to get kind of boring, so I figured the Hadiths would also be very boring. One thing I want to point out is I'm really curious to read, like, Aisha's Hadiths. So if anyone could just give me a list, like a link to maybe all of the Aishan Hadiths, that would be nice. Like all of the ones from Aisha, his wife. Because I would love to learn that, because Aisha was so young and forced into marriage to this mentally ill creep who lied to everyone about, like, a bunch of bullshit. So, yeah. So, I want to hear what her opinions on this was. Did she believe that he was really a prophet? And I think she did. And what was her opinion on him as a person? Was she into the relationship and just, probably shouldn't have been, because, she should have gotten some time to grow before she was forced into one? Or did she hate it? Um, but yeah, if anyone could point me in the direction of the hadiths written by Aisha specifically, that would be nice. And any other hadiths that are interesting, that would also be nice. Yeah. But I'm going to give Mormonism a slightly different treatment. I am going to read all Mormon texts. I am going to read the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. The reason I'm giving that extra treatment to Mormonism, but not to Islam, is because Mormonism, we know that those 3 books are written by Joseph Smith. So they can help me analyze the author, definitely. But reading the Hadiths and reading the Quran, like, the Quran is known to be made by Muhammad, so you could be, well, made by God if you're Islamic, but made by Muhammad if you think. So you can be like, oh, well, yeah, he's, yeah. So basically, I'm not giving Muhammad that extra treatment because the Hadiths aren't confirmed to be true, while the other 2 books in Mormonism are confirmed to be truly from the original author. Not factually true. That's one thing I should point out. Not factually true, as in they literally did come from the author. The person that they're supposed to have came from, they did come from, is what I mean by true. Not that they literally happened. I'm still a Satanist, don't worry. One thing I do want to point out is Mormonism is actually pretty interesting reading it so far. I would say if you want to learn about, like, if you want to read a religious text, but you also want to read it as a book, I think the Book of Mormon is a pretty good one to read, because it's actually written like a book with, like, a plot line instead of just, like, a bunch of books put together like the Bible. It is formatted like a bunch of books. So each individual book is still its own story. They just build up to a larger plot line. And the order the books are put in does matter. So that's one interesting thing too. But yeah, my main point is just, yeah, that's why I'm giving it that extra treatment. One thing I wanted to point out as well was, one thing I wanted to explain as well is that I'm 18 now. I turned 18 on March 10th, which was a few days ago. And one of the things I wanted to tell you guys, and I don't know how long this is going to take. It's going to take a while to get it set up, but I wanted to tell you about my future career, what I plan to do other than just YouTube. So I'll start with, I guess I'll start with the ones that won't make you uncomfortable. and I know that probably makes you a bit scared, but the ones that won't make you uncomfortable would be, I do plan on learning theology, going to college and learning theology, and learning creative writing and becoming a writer. Now, the one that will make you uncomfortable, or possibly will, I don't know if it will, and I'm sorry if me saying it will and it not doing so is like misleading to you, but I plan on becoming a porn star. I plan on making pornography. One thing to note is, remember in that older video, actually it's the most popular on my channel by views at least, when I mentioned I was trans, I still am, and I'm gonna go ahead and start putting in the effort to actually be more girly. You know, I'm gonna actually wear stuff to be a girl now instead of, you know, and that means including shaving my beard, which is what I did here. Um, I shaved a little too close here and here. But yeah, so I'm gonna at least shave my beard all the time, and I'm probably gonna shave the rest of my body a lot of the time too for those videos because I do want to make it entertaining, and I feel like advertising it as trans woman and then just having it be a hairy dude would be kind of misleading. So I think it'd be good, since I am a trans woman, hairy or not, I'm still a trans woman, but still, it'd be better to make it, you know, actually accurate to what it is. Um, yeah, my main point is just that's my plan for my future career. If any of you have any way to help me with any of those, whether that's theology, writing, or pornography, that would be nice. Um, so, yeah. Um, all right. Well, goodbye. See you, I don't know, in the next 4 billion years when I make another video.